It's January 29th. Wasn't it just the holidays? Wasn't it just New Year's? Anyway, how's your January going? Has yours been as relaxing and chill as mine? I mean, in all honesty, it has been like a 4-alarm dumpster fire over here, but it's okay. It's dealt with. We're moving forward. Books have been read, and that's what I'm here to talk about. This is my monthly reading wrap-up for January 2025. It has been an interesting reading month. I've got 5 books to share with you, from middle grades novels to nonfiction to an Arthurian tale. Overall, in January, I read or listened to 14 different books, some of which I can't share in this video because they're for other projects, and I don't want to talk about Familiaris again. It's too soon. Too soon. But in this video, I'm going to cover 5 great books, or not so great books, that I read this month, and talk a little bit about them, and then catch you up on where I am tackling my TBR. I'm excited to get into this. I'm also going to apologize because someone put quarters in both of my dogs, and so if you hear them, they live here, I'm sorry. I'm Nick, this is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, and let's dive into January 2025, shall we? Oh, are you just the bestest? Are you just the bestest? I mean, Phyllis is also the bestest. You can share it. I know it's a superlative, but I've got 5 books to talk about this month that really stood out to me. I'm going to start with literature, I guess, is the category I'm gonna call it. And the first book that I want to talk about is Lev Grossman's The Bright Sword. I started listening to this book on my way back from Clara's house when I was getting lost in that section of Familiaris where I just was like, what is going on? And found it to be a nice respite. This is a 600-ish page book that centers on Cullum, a young man who has decided he is going to go to Camelot to present himself to King Arthur and become a Knight of the Round Table. Only when he gets to Camelot, Arthur has died, and the Round Table is in shambles, and everyone is trying to figure out what Arthur's death means for them, means for the kingdom, etc., etc. And what ends up happening is a series of quests that follow that Arthurian tradition that explore how the members of the Round Table find meaning in their own lives when the source of so much of that meaning has gone, has disappeared. I was a bit more affected by this book than I thought I would be. Morgan Le Fay it's not that she doesn't get treated well in this book. It's just she feels like this side character that Grossman didn't quite know what to do with, but still did stuff with. And that was, I wish there would have been more of that. The adventures that Cullum goes on with the Knights of the Round Table and how he figures out who he is and what he wants to do with his life. She had that toy first, my love. I'm so sorry. Where was I? How Cullum grows as a character was really lovely in this book, but at 600 pages plus, if you've read anything by Lev Grossman before, there is always some stuff that could have been snipped, pruned, if you will. But the majority of, nope. Hi. The majority of what was there actually wasn't, The majority of what was there was pretty solid. Definitely like a B plus book, maybe a B, solid B. Let's go with a solid B. I don't know that I'll read it again, but I enjoyed my time with it. Lev Grossman has an incredible, excuse me, an incredible ability to turn a phrase. What? No, now you're both causing problems. Hi. Phyllis, go get a toy then. I don't know what to tell you. Ay. Lev Grossman has just a magnificent ability to turn a phrase. So, Guy, can you not sniff at Canine chaos? Lev Grossman just has this ability to turn a phrase, which made this book a delight, even when I wasn't quite sure where the plot was going. And at that length, the plot does go a variety of different places. So, enjoyable book. Will I read it again? Probably not. Probably not. But was good. It was good to experience. Hey, hi. Hey. Okay, we're not doing this. Come on. Dogs. Okay. So, Lev Grossman, The Bright Sword. Enjoyable. I'm glad that I had the experience, and I do want to seek out some other Arthurian, Camelot materials. So if you have suggestions, please leave them in the comments. So let's move into some middle grades books for this month. Let's talk Amari and the Despicable Wonders. I should own up to what I was thinking going into that book, because Amari and the Night Brothers came out a couple of years ago, the first book in a trilogy by author B.B. Alston, and it was the book that I recommended to every student in my children's literature course, every adult who I know who loves middle grades books, every kid who was developmentally appropriate for that particular book. It was so good. Amari is a young Black girl who experiences systems of oppression and is able to talk about them in ways that are developmentally appropriate and not didactic, and in situations that felt real. That was all backgrounded because of the larger plotline of Amari being recruited into a paranormal investigations team, which is an authority organization in the supernatural world. And it was just such a compelling read. Then the second book came out, and it was not as good. I did not enjoy it as much. I wanted to, but it felt really forced. It felt really fast. It felt like there wasn't enough plotline to make me invested in the book. I was interested in what was going to happen to Amari, but by the end I was just like, it's okay. It's over. I can see how someone who is very into Amari as a character would be totally interested in this book, but I was not as interested. However, I was hoping that with this third book, Amari and the Despicable Wonders, that Alston would prove that that was just a sophomore slump and redeem themselves in this last book in the trilogy. And for the most part, there were lots of improvements. I felt like the plot was much more engaging in this particular book. There was lots of action. The action moved pretty fast, which was something that was sometimes hard as an adult reader to get my head wrapped around. But I can see how for the reader that this book is intended for, how that would make a lot of sense. Sorry, I'm being ambiguous with this one because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't read any of the books. So I'm trying to be general yet specific. And I don't know that I'm accomplishing either of those things. The end is really supposed to have this emotional gut punch. It is set up as a textbook emotional gut punch, and I'm gonna be really honest, I didn't care. One of the things that bothered me the most about leaving Despicable Wonders is I cared so much for that first book. And to experience that trilogy to the end and be less and less invested in Amari as a character just felt painful. The ending was, I don't even have a word for it. It just wasn't well developed. It wasn't earned. That's what I'm gonna go with. The ending, what I think Alston wanted me to feel, wasn't earned because of the cost of the action. It was action, action, action in this one, and there wasn't as much character development. So I'm sad that Amari ended on the note that it ended on. I still recommend the first book. I think the first book is smart, tightly written, like I said, but I'm not going to be encouraging people to follow up any further than that unless they absolutely want to. Let's move on to book 3 in middle grades, and this is When We Flew Away by Alice Hoffman. This book was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. It is a story of Anne Frank and her family before they go into hiding. They've just moved to Amsterdam and are trying to get settled in their life amidst the turmoil that is rolling across Europe at that point in time. The thing that I so appreciated about this book was you have this grand arc of what Hitler is doing in Europe and what Anne's family has done, moving from, I believe it was Poland to Amsterdam. But really the book is composed of these really quotidian moments for Anne. You get to know Anne as a girl who likes to act and is navigating tensions with her mother and is looking up to her sister Margot. It's those little moments, it's those kind of vignettes of Anne's life before we came to know her through her diary that ultimately make the impact of this middle grades novel so great, because she's really wrestling with these universal things in her life. And of course, you combine that with Alice Hoffman's just insightful, razor-sharp language, and you're left with a book that, weirdly enough, brings so much joy, but also so much sadness, because you know what's coming. You're happy to have gotten this additional view of who Anne and her family was before they went into hiding. Really delightful book. I added to my historical fiction list for children's literature this summer, and I think students are really going to resonate with it. So, not all my middle grades novels this month were not great. When We Flew Away, Alice Hoffman, delightful. So now let's move into nonfiction, which, the first book I want to talk about is Sarah Jaffe's Work Won't Love You Back. This is probably my favorite book. This is probably my favorite book that I've read this month, because it's one of those books that shifts my thinking and invites me to rethink what my personal politics are and how I want to be correct within those politics. Essentially, the big thesis of this book is this idea that work has relied on love as a factor to allow for the manipulation and exploitation of workers, whether you are a tech bro who is working long hours in an office with a bunch of toys, so it looks like you're playing, but really you're playing in order to put in long hours on whatever app you're working because you love your job, as one example, as well as teachers who are constantly told, oh, you're in it for the students because you love the students whenever they ask for new materials, or college instructors, university professors who are constantly told, oh, you should be lucky you have a job that you love, and that's why you don't get, paid as much, et cetera, et cetera. It covers in really, really clear detail the rhetoric around how all of that works. How are you back? How are you back? How? Are you climbing through the gate? What are you doing? Okay, at least come here and say hi. Nope. Come here and say hi. Come here and say hi. If you are going to be so sneaky, come here and say hi. Oh, gosh, dogs. Jaffe does some of the clearest rhetorical work I've ever seen around delineating the ways in which personal investment, love, family, etc., is used against workers in late-stage capitalism across a variety of different fields. Not only the tech bros, but teachers, professors, nonprofit groups. That was probably, the nonprofit group chapter was mind-boggling to me. She lays out the world of nonprofits in a way that she connected dots for me that I had in my head, but they didn't exist in the ways that she presented them. As nonprofits are often framed as these organizations that address inequities that come about from great wealth in society that is not equally distributed or equitably distributed. But those nonprofits are also funded by the same people who have that inequitable amount of wealth. So it's used as a tax break for those who are actually working to perpetuate inequity, while also saying, oh, hey, we're trying to make things more equitable. But are you, though? Especially when, if you make these gifts to these organizations, you have all of these rights to say how that money is spent. So really, it's this parasitic relationship that I'm still sorting out what that means for myself. I'm still trying to figure out what that does. Hey, where you going? What you doing? Okay. How about you just stay there? So, work will not love you back. Super powerful thinking around how we come to conceive ourselves as needing to love the work that we do. Part of the reason why we're told we need to love the work we do is so that we can get paid less. Because if you love it, you'll do it for whatever, right? Again, probably my favorite book that I read this month. It gave me so much to think about. I'm still thinking about it. This is Be Ready When the Luck Happens. This is Ina Garten's memoir. And it's an interesting shift to go from Sarah Jaffe to Ina Garten, because the opening epigraph to her memoir is attributed to her husband, Jeffrey, and is, do what you love. If you love it, you'll be good at it. Which is interesting. I read these two books back to back, which led to some interesting readings of Garten's work. To be clear, I am here for that late 90s, early 2000s domestic-y realm. Remember the Martha Stewart wreath? I am here for that. So I really did enjoy getting to know Ina Garten. I've cooked from her cookbooks. I've never been a huge fan, but that's because I just never watched it. And I loved getting to know her background. She has this fiery voice that was very much throughout this book. And I appreciated her a lot more because of that. She makes things look very easy, but is very clear about the kinds of hard work that goes behind that. Even her marriage with Jeffrey was not all sunshine and rainbows. But this epigraph stayed in my head throughout the entire book because I kept thinking between the title of Be Ready When the Luck Happens and then the epigraph of Do What You Love, the thing that I wish she would have addressed was, it's one thing to be, how much of luck are social connections and access to money? And I wish that would have been a bit more laid out here. And I think there's hints to it throughout the book, but it felt a little disingenuous. Be ready when the luck happens. It's easy to be ready for the luck to happen when, one, you have the resources to be waiting around for said luck, and two, when you are in particular spaces where particular people are in order to make that luck for you. And I wish she would have delved a bit more into that, because do I doubt that she loves food? Absolutely not. But I do think, like Martha, that she's a businesswoman. And that's okay. She likes making money. She likes being comfortable. She likes, what she likes, and what she likes costs money. And I wish that would have been a bit more clear through it. So Sarah Jaffe really did impact the ways that I thought about that book. Did I enjoy it? Yes. It was really fun to read about how everything came about for her, and kind of the moves that she had to make. She's a really savvy businesswoman, and I appreciated that. I appreciated her thinking through, the challenges that she experienced as a businesswoman. I just wish there would have been a little bit more taking into account the privileges that she already had going into that. Let's catch up on TBRs. My Tackle the TBR is, not quite where I would like it to be yet. If you remember, I had 4 books that I wanted to tackle. 3 books in particular: James Baldwin's No Name in the Street, Gerard Reeves' The Evenings, and Julie Otsuka's Buddha in the Attic. At this point in time, despite having read 14 books in January so far on the 29th, I'm not done with these yet. I have both No Name in the Street and The Evenings in pretty constant reading rotation. I am about halfway through The Evenings. I should be finished with this by the end of January so I can get into my February book, Two Girls, Fat and Thin by Mary Gaitskill. And I'm near the end of No Name in the Street. So 2 out of 4 isn't bad, but I still technically have 2 days left. That is, 4 bus rides. That is, I've got time. That is 2 nights of reading. I will come back to Buddha in the Attic at some point, and I will get to Impossible Creatures. I probably should have read this instead of Amari, but we'll see if we can get to it in February. So with that, that's kind of how my January went. I have read there are some books that I read this month that I really enjoyed, and I can't wait to talk about them. I read them in anticipation for some other projects that I wanted to work on, some other video projects that I wanted to work on, and I'm really excited to share those with you. So please don't think, wow, Nick had a cranky month. Yeah, I kind of did, and sometimes that happens, but there also were some books that I absolutely loved, and I'm excited to see those coming out in the next couple of months. So with that, I appreciate you. And I hope life is good. I'll see you in the next one. Oh my gosh, so chaotic.